Hi everybody, Chris here from Truly Holistic. In this video I'm going to be talking about where my true quantum healing has been going of late, and it's nothing new in regards to information wise, it's just more a different perspective or perception on looking at our reality and how the human being is being manipulated to create more suffering within us and the reasons why. And this is really essentially what true quantum healing is all about. Is here at Truly Holistic, we're trying to figure out why things are the way they are. Because if we can go to the core of the problem, then we're not having to kind of work on superficial issues, which I guess are symptoms. And my slogan at Truly Holistic is to work on the cause of your problem, not the symptoms. And what this has kind of led me to is some information that I've known about for a while, but I'm just looking at it in a new light. So the first part of the information that I've known for a while is that our eyes are locked into a certain spectrum of frequency, of light frequency that we can see, that we physically can see in this reality. Okay, and according to science, that's less than 1% of all light there is. So when you really think about that scientific fact, is that we are only, with our eyes, only experiencing, probably more importantly, seeing less than 1% of what there is. So all of a sudden that got me thinking, and I was thinking, hey, a lot of the time here we're working on what we deemed physical things like infections, viruses, parasites, bacteria, mold, yeast, candida, all these things, which we've all identified over years and years through different strains of these, different strains of bacteria. And a lot of the times we've identified them through looking through microscopes and things like that. So we might, maybe not with a naked eye, but with magnification we can see it. Okay, so it's part of the visible spectrum of light that we can see. Our eyes can see it. Now, straight away I was thinking, okay, is there infections like these that live outside of that spectrum? And the answer I got was yes. So I guess we could call those multidimensional infections. Okay, so we still use the terminology like bacteria, molds, funguses, yeasts, parasites, but we use the term density frequency bacteria, density frequency virus or mold. And what that means is, in that type of infection, that is beyond the visible spectrum, that is still having an effect on you, because you're more than what this visible spectrum is. Actually, what you're seeing in front of you is only 1% of me, because you're seeing it with your eyes and part of this visible spectrum. You're seeing 1% of me. Okay, so that got me thinking about this, and I was thinking, okay, how often do we feel something's not right in our body, okay? And if that becomes very extreme, and say, for example, you're having a lot of pain or discomfort, a lot of people will think, okay, I need to go to the hospital, right? I need to be checked in the emergency department of the hospital. And I hear this all the time. I used to work in a hospital, and I used to hear this all the time. And lo and behold, you get to that emergency department, and they run all their diagnostic tests, and they come back to you and they say, you're fine, there was nothing wrong. Everything was within the therapeutic window. There was no abnormal tests or results. So you're told to go home, even though you still feel there's something not right. Whether you've got pain or perhaps you feel hot, you feel feverish, but lo and behold, when they test your temperature, it's within the normal range, or a blood test come back within a normal range. They've done an x-ray and it looks fine, there's nothing there. We must understand that all those diagnostic tests are all based on what we can see. And a majority of them are all based on this visible spectrum, which is less than 1%. So what I'm coming to see, and using this perceptual perspective of treating people here at Truly Holistic, is that I'm seeing so much validity to looking at treating people this way. And I'm going to give you an example now. I had a client the other day who had all the signs and symptoms of something wasn't right cardiovascularly, okay? They were having tingling sensation that included their tongue, their face, and went all the way down their left arm down into their fingers, okay? And altered sensation, and at the same time they were quite anxious and very in panic mode. And you wouldn't you, when you had that happening to you? So straight away, the client went to the ED, thinking they were like having like a heart attack or perhaps a stroke or something like that. So they did all the tests, right? And they came back to her and said, all the results of the tests were normal. Nothing wrong with you. Go home. So we do it a few days later. We do a session looking at it in this light and using all those symptoms, all the feelings, because when we get symptoms, it's our body communicating to us. It's a feeling, okay? And that feeling is not just based in this 1% of the visible spectrum. It's based on the whole 100% of you, all the other stuff, which are the aspects that are multidimensional aspects of you, okay? So it's telling you something's not right. So what we came to find within the session was that this particular client had suffered issues in the heart that were definitely related to having a heart attack, but it wasn't based on the part of that person that was in the visible spectrum. So lo and behold, all the diagnostic tests say that it came back normal and there was nothing wrong. Now, how often do we hear that with people that keep suffering, even though it doesn't matter how many times they go and rely on a medical doctor or get tests done, which are based on this reality, which is only 1% of the visible spectrum, or is 1% of the overall light that there is, that they keep suffering. And because the diagnostic tests say otherwise, they say that everything's normal, then it must be all in your head. I'm pretty sure you've heard that. Now, for anybody that's suffering out there and gets this response, I can definitely help you here at Treat Holistic, because I keep a very open mind in regards to what we need to do for your health problem. And this has just opened the door even more for me. Looking at it from this perspective and this perception, that really, if something is getting through to this physical aspect, say for example, let's say a growth or a tumor, that problem has probably most likely been a problem for a very long time for you. And it's probably been involved within that other 99% of you. And remember, I guess it's a bit like the analogy of an iceberg. Yeah, you've got that little bit that's just bears at the top of the surface of the ocean, but there's this 90% more of this big piece of ice or this iceberg that's underneath the water that you don't see. And that's what I'm seeing day in, day out in regards to working on health problems for people, is this exactly the same thing. So this was very interesting to me to look beyond this 1% of visible spectrum and realize that we are, with our eyes locked into this visible spectrum, we have some awareness and consciousness to what we can see, but what about the other 99%? And that's where our consciousness comes into it. Our consciousness needs to go further and beyond what our eyes can tell us. And that's the other 99% of us. And when we look at this 99% of us, it's a consciousness game. And there are many players. Not only your consciousness, but a number of other consciousness as well. Not only the consciousness of, say, the living here, but people that have just passed away in transition, of being just passed away. Maybe some spirits that have got unfinished business here and still around. Entities or consciousness that are wanting to cause problems and manipulate. Now, while we're in this plane of this less than 1% of the visible spectrum, we are told this is all, and this is all we are. Okay? Now, while that's happening for a lot of people, that other 99% of you is being manipulated, okay, at an energetic level, a multidimensional level, by a number of consciousness that know the name of the game, while you stay in the dark. Okay? So what I'm going to talk about now is what modern medicine calls an autoimmune condition or a problem, autoimmune problem in the body. And for example, let's take rheumatoid arthritis. Okay? You go and you've got all these deformities in your hands because of scar tissue buildup and calcification in the joints. See your doctor, and your doctor says, well, we're going to run some tests. And they look at your hand physically. I think you've got arthritis and maybe rheumatoid arthritis. And if they give you that label, that diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis, they'll say, well, that's caused because your body's attacking its own tissue. Healthy tissue is being attacked by the body, your immune system. Okay, so that's their definition. But if we use common sense in regards to that, is why would the body attack itself? Okay? Your body's supposed to be intelligent, and why would it attack itself? Why would it sabotage itself? And that got me thinking. Now, if this game is a consciousness game, an intelligence game behind everything in this reality that we see in a physical form is only here because it's got a consciousness to it. This house has got a consciousness to it. This phone that I'm doing this video on has got a consciousness to it. Medications that you're taking within this visible reality has got a consciousness to it. Alcohol has got a consciousness to it. All has consciousness. Consciousness is its vehicle to evolve. Okay? So, what we need to question is, okay, if your body is attacking itself, what consciousness is directing that part of your body to do that? It's definitely not your own. Because your own consciousness, which I guess some people would call your soul, would not do that to you. It's got your back. So what's actually happening with an autoimmune response? And you don't even have to be diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. Let's look at asthma. That's an autoimmune response. Most things are an autoimmune response because they just don't make sense. Why would that happen in the body? If your consciousness, your soul, is directing that just does not happen. So what we're doing here at Truly Holistic is we're finding out the name of the consciousness that's behind a part of your body not functioning correctly. Now, the reason why it does that is because when a part of your body is breaking down, or I guess we could call that degeneration, you suffer. Okay, and there's a lot of emotional turmoil with it. And emotions is energy emotion. So it's energy, right? And it gives off a vibration or a frequency of energy that a lot of this consciousness feeds on. Because it's wanting to keep growing and evolving. That's what a consciousness is. And it needs energy to do it. Okay? So that's what they get out of that. It's a parasitic consciousness that is feeding off your own misfortune to keep evolving and growing itself. So what we do is we find out what that consciousness is. We remove it from that body part. And once we remove what I call rogue or parasitic consciousness from that area, then we just activate your own consciousness to come back in. And therefore that body part can then function correctly because it's been given direction by something that will always have your back, and that's your own consciousness. And I guess you could use your word soul or source. So we're doing this at Truly Holistic, and it's making a lot of sense. And we're able to do less clearings and do it in faster time and get faster results, doing it this way. And it makes a lot of sense. And that's why I always say to people is, hey, we can talk about all these different entities, aliens, consciousness, and some people roll their eyes. But when you put it in a way like this, it makes sense, doesn't it? It makes a lot more sense than what we've been told all our lifetime. Well, I hope so. Please comment below if you think so. So we're doing a lot more of this here at Truly Holistic, and doing it in this way, looking at it in this light and perspective and perception. And we're kind of, being used as a vessel. While 1% of us is in this physical realm and thinking this is all there is, the rest of you is being used as other consciousness docking into you and either using you as a battery source or sabotaging a part of your body to create suffering within you, then it can then feed off that type of energy. And that's what I'm finding. It's usually one of those two, and sometimes both of them together. And let's say if they're using you as a battery source, then there's not enough energy or vibration or frequency. You're going to be in a lower density or dimension in that part of your body, which then just creates degeneration. Okay? For that body part to get well, to regenerate it, it needs the energy to do that. So we need to remove the drains. Okay? And we see the duality of light and dark. And this is dark matter that we remove. And it's got a strong gravitational force to it, but we call it a black hole. And we close those and we get rid of those. And then we activate light back into that place, that part of the body, to increase its density level. So put it in a higher plane of existence that is going to nurture enough energy to regenerate that area, but also keep it in safe harm from other consciousness they're trying to feed off it. And then in the other manner, which we've already talked about, they're docking into you and they're directing how your body will work. And if they're interested in feeding off energy, low vibrational energy, so therefore creating suffering within you, that's what they'll do. So I thought I'd do this video about this, and it's really exciting because I'm seeing a great evolution in regards to the way we're treating illness and treating problems now. And it's becoming more clear all the time, and things are making a lot more sense. Why we're here, reality, why things are the way they are. A lot of that questions that do not get answered from mainstream society, mainstream modern medicine, all these sorts of things, who are only focused on numbing the ability for the body to communicate, which is symptoms. So if you want more in regards to your health problem, to know more about it, know more of the place of where you fit within this reality, I really recommend you book an appointment here at Truly Holistic. And if you've got a really chronic problem, you'll need more than one session, at least 3, and maybe even more, 6, 9 sessions. But it will be the best investment you can make, because we are really we're really going to places where a lot of other people are not going to. And I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but there's a lot of clarity based with this information, because this is, as I say, this isn't information that we only roll our eyes at initially because we're so programmed to be very close-minded. But if we open our mind and then listen to the information and let it just settle in ourselves for a bit, it makes a lot more sense. That's what I've found within my journey. It makes a lot more sense. And I tell you, common sense is a great yardstick to kind of connect to. Always has been. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you want to book a session with me, go to trulyholistic.net and book sessions there, where you can book your own appointments in your own time zone. We do sessions. We work on people all over the world. If you lived on the moon, I'd do a session for you. Okay? Energy flows to wherever you direct it. It's that simple. Anyway, until next time. Bye.